Hello everyone, and I'm Autobot Sonic the Telltale Gamer, bringing latest and everything Telltale games, Transformers, and more. For today's Cyberverse review, we're going to be looking at Transformers Cyberverse Season 3, Episode 20, Whildwheel. Now, when I first saw this episode, I thought it was going to be just another episode continuing the story that we saw back in the last episode, Thunder Howl, with Bumblebee essentially looking for more parts of Windblade's memory fragments, but no, this episode is totally a filler episode, focusing, of course, on the titular character, Whildwheel. And honestly, I'm not too fond of filler episodes usually, but honestly, this is probably like one of the best filler episodes Cyberverse has ever had. And Season 2 had a lot of good filler episodes, but honestly, with this season, I really do think that this is probably the best filler episode of Season 3 that we've gotten so far, and it introduces us to a great character in the form of Whildwheel. So I gotta say, with these latter episodes of Season 3, we're getting introduced to a lot of cool new characters. Like we had Thunder Howl last episode, now we've got Whildwheel, and I think he's going to be a really cool character later down the line. So we're going to go ahead and see everything this episode did right and what it did wrong. Now, episode 20 starts off in McAdams, which is now run by Perceptor since McAdam died back in the End of the Universe Part 3. But it's odd as though Perceptor, my man, still hasn't gotten his eyes fixed, even though Peace has finally returned to Cybertron. Like, it's just no one busy. Is everyone too busy to just take a look at Perceptor's eyes, get them fixed, or maybe they don't have the resources to fix his eyes still, as they're still kind of rebuilding Cybertron? I don't know, but it just seems kind of weird now that they're just keeping Perceptor blind throughout the entirety of this season, despite the fact that I feel like they could have easily fixed his eyes at this point. Like, they've had 2 points now where they could have fixed Perceptor's eyes, and neither one did they take the chance to do it. It just feels weird to me, in my opinion. But again, that's not a problem with this episode, just something that I have a problem with for this whole season overall. So I'm not going to take points off it for this episode. But anyway, as Perceptor is just watching over McAdams, now Whildwheel enters looking for Optimus, and I gotta say, I absolutely love Whildwheel's design. That it looks, from a Transformers perspective, it looks kind of stupid considering that he's just dressed up like a cowboy, complete with a poncho and a cowboy hat. But again, that just kind of fits Cyberverse's motif of just being really silly with its character designs. And honestly, I'm all here for it to have characters, Transformers just actually look more human in regards to that. But I do find it funny just how human Whildwheel looks with his cowboy outfit here. So Whildwheel demands to know where Optimus is from Perceptor, and that cuts to a flashback where we see essentially how Whildwheel got to Cybertron, where basically we go through a couple misadventures with him running through the whole Decepticon half of Cybertron. He ends up getting off a alien cruiser that took him to Cybertron, then ends up basically still looking for Optimus. He ends up getting some pretty cool fight scenes throughout this little bit as well before he becomes a McAdams. Like, one point, he sees, I think it's Ramjet and Dirge messing around with another Decepticon, so he ends up, like, showing off his marking skills by shooting, like, their blaster tips off and scaring them off, and then gets information from the guy he saves to go look for Optimus. He ends up heading more into the center of the Decepticon, like, big Decepticon city, where he ends up getting attacked by 3 Insecticons. Now remember, these Insecticons were pretty strong, so they were able to take out Bumblebee back in enemy line with him using his multiversal energy. So, but yeah, Whildwheel is able to take them down effortlessly compared to when Bumblebee. So that just shows how strong of a character Whildwheel is compared to Bumblebee and others, even without multiversal energy that Megatron gave to Bumblebee and everyone else back in the End of the Universe arc. And it's cool to see just how Whildwheel basically fights basically kind of like a cowboy with both his Energon revolvers that he uses, and he's even got like Energon lasso he uses to wrangle one of the Insecticons. I absolutely love Whildwheel's design and mannerisms and combat styles in this episode, but eventually he causes enough ruckus that he gets the attention of Megatron, who demands to know why he's here. But when he states that he's looking for Optimus, Megatron immediately changes his tone and is happy to show Whildwheel where Optimus is. So he ends up taking Whildwheel personally to the Decepticon and Autobot border of Cybertron, which we see now that Whildwheel's alt mode essentially, it's very similar to Bumblebee's new alt mode essentially, in fact that it's a flying Cybertronian car, not to mention that Megatron's new form as a tank can fly now too. So I guess just everyone on Cybertron can fly now if they feel like it, or maybe that's just something only Megatron, Whildwheel, and Bumblebee can do, but maybe because they have the multiversal energy, but I don't know. But anyway, Megatron brings Whildwheel to the Autobot and Decepticon border, where he tells Whildwheel that he's always welcome back at Decepticons once he's done with Optimus. So that kind of makes me wonder if Megatron truly does have some ulterior motive. Maybe he really does want to save Cybertron, but at the same time he doesn't think Optimus can be a good leader, so he wants to take him out of the way, or out of the picture, so that he can have full control of Cybertron instead, but still not be like as tyrannical as he was back in like seasons 1 through like the first bits, a couple episodes of season 3. Who knows? So once Whildwheel ends up on the Autobot side of the Cybertron, he ends up going to McAdams, which leads us back to where we started this episode with him entering to go ask Perceptor where Optimus is. So from Perceptor, Whildwheel learns that Optimus is at this town called, I think it's Coastal Springs or something like that. It's some Wild West, clearly Wild West inspired town that Optimus is currently in the process of helping rebuild to basically repopulate Cybertron. And man, Optimus just can't catch a break with all these reconstruction efforts. Like literally for every episode we've seen of him in these like Rescue Windblade episodes, he's just constantly been doing construction work this whole time, and I honestly find that a little bit funny. But so while Optimus is doing this, he ends up bringing like this big water tower, but it's really like an Energon water tower basically, into the middle of town, and that sort of for some reason like just lights up the whole town and basically gets ready to finish up like rebuilding Coastal Springs. But all of a sudden a stampede of like robot cows comes in and basically destroys the water tower and the rest of the town. And I don't know, like, I get that this is like a Wild West trope about like stampeding bulls and cows and all that, but again, it just kind of comes out of nowhere. Like there's no resolution as to like, oh, Whildwheel's maybe gonna help Optimus defend the town from these robot cows, but no, they just kind of come up there to ruin everything and just come out of nowhere. It's really weird, but again, it's not too big of a con. It just feels odd, out of place to me. The fact that they include this and just doesn't go anywhere, in my opinion. But anyway, after the stampede, Whildwheel finally comes in after when Optimus is trying to put everything back together. And Optimus, though, doesn't seem to recognize Whildwheel until Whildwheel addresses him by name and states that he used to actually be one of the Autobots stationed on the Ark all the way back in Season 1. As we see a little flashback here of a much different looking Whildwheel. He's a lot cleaner, not covered in rust. He doesn't have a beard at all, too, which I find is really weird, like how a Cybertronian manages to grow facial hair. But when Whildwheel goes into his stasis pod, of course, we know what happened to the Ark back in the flashback from Season 1, Episode 15, King of the Dinosaurs, when Grimlock woke up to see the Ark was crashing and all the, and a few stasis pods, including Bumblebee's stasis pod, falling out of the Ark to land on Earth. Whildwheel's was one of 3 other stasis pods that ended up managing to fall out of the Ark and land on Earth. So that just makes me, and the fact that Bumblebee and Whildwheel fell out of the Ark and then no one bothered looking for Whildwheel, that kind of that is a little bit dark to me, in my opinion. That just, they like, oh yeah, we saved everyone on the Ark, but wait a minute, what about Whildwheel, and did we just forget about him? I mean, I guess you can just call it up to be a retcon that can technically, when the writers of Cyberverse were writing Season 1, they obviously didn't have Whildwheel in mind as a character. They just thought, hey, you know, what if we just made, like, there was another character who fell off the Ark? So I guess you can just chalk up to that being a retcon of sorts. But again, it's just kind of funny and also darkly humorous in hindsight, knowing that Whildwheel has just been forgotten by all the other Autobots on the Ark during the events of Season 1. That just, everyone seems to have forgotten he existed. But anyway, through this flashback, we learned that Whildwheel ended up staying buried underground for millions upon millions of years until he woke up during, like, the early 20th century, when he was found by several famous outlaws in American Wild West history, and ended up basically joining a posse with them for a while until he managed to leave Earth later on during that time, and basically became a bounty hunter / outlaw throughout the whole galaxy and universe, doing jobs and trying to make money so that he could return to Cybertron and get revenge on Optimus for leaving him behind on Earth. And I gotta say, I understand Whildwheel's need for revenge, but it just seems kind of odd that they focus so little on Whildwheel's origin as a cowboy. Like, we do see that he was a outlaw on Earth, but also, again, if that's the case, why doesn't anyone just mention that Whildwheel, like, was this big robot on Earth during the early 1900s? Like, did no one just seem to find that odd, or is this just a last night situation where they had some sort of secret alliance with the Cowboys? I don't know, really, but I also think it would have been cool if we saw, like, bits and more flashbacks about how Whildwheel was sort of like an intergalactic outlaw, show some of his stuff on other planets instead of just limiting to his time on Earth. But I do like the way they portray the Whildwheel's flashback as sort of like a series of, like, old pictures from the 1900s. It's kind of similar to how Thunder Howl's backstory had the stained glass paintings, and then Cheetor's backstory had all, like, the tribal drawings, like the cave drawings. I do love that Cyberverse does these sort of stylized flashbacks. But anyway, after the flashback ends, Whildwheel basically tells Optimus that he wants to fight him, but of course Optimus refuses to, stating that he doesn't want to fight another Autobot. Eventually, though, we get to the point where Whildwheel just starts shooting at Optimus anyway, and Optimus ends up taking cover until another Autobot comes up and tries to hit Whildwheel with a shovel. Before Whildwheel, I think he kills this Autobot. I'm not sure if he kills him or just seriously wounds him. He shoots him like 3 or 4 times in the chest, so if that's not a kill shot, I don't know what is. So after Whildwheel presumably kills that Autobot, Optimus finally decides to fight Whildwheel, who takes a revolver from Whildwheel, and they basically kind of have like a Mexican standoff. It's just, honestly, it's a bit cliche, but it is pretty cool to watch Optimus battle Whildwheel like this. So anyway, after like a little bit, Optimus and Whildwheel shoot each other, with Optimus managing to win and shooting Whildwheel in the chest, but not killing him. So after he wins, Optimus tries to get Whildwheel to forgive him and come back to the Autobots, but Whildwheel just states he doesn't want to go back to them, that he has a new place with the Megatron and Decepticons. So Whildwheel just goes ahead and leaves Optimus with all the other Autobots in the ruined Coastal Springs. And hopefully this isn't the end of Whildwheel, as I really liked his character, who again is also voiced by Richard Orlow, who previously voiced Thunder Howl in the last episode. It's great to see the range Richard Orlow has between voicing a more noble character like Thunder Howl and then this rugged outlaw like Whildwheel. I do like the difference between both of them, and I hope we get to see more of Whildwheel in these later episodes, which I'm sure we will, but hopefully he's just not relegated to like the finale episode or something like that, and actually gets a pretty decent role in later episodes. And so that was my review of Transformers Cyberverse Season 3, Episode 20, Whildwheel. If I had to rate this episode, I'd probably give it a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. Honestly, one of the better episodes of Cyberverse Season 3, the best filler episode definitely so far. We get introduced to a great character in the form of Whildwheel. I think his backstory is pretty cool, but there are a few inconsistencies with it, like why didn't we focus more on his time as a cowboy, or just show us a little bit of his time as a intergalactic outlaw. We should have seen more of Whildwheel, and then I think the whole robo-stampede of robo-cows that destroys Coastal Springs, I just think that just seemed pointless in my opinion, because it doesn't really go anywhere. But other than that though, this was a great filler episode. I'm really excited to see what happens next with Cyberverse. But that's going to be it for this episode. I'll be back soon with episode 21, Alien Hunt with Meteor Fire and Cosmos. If you like this review, be sure to like, comment, and of course subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Take it away, Bumblebee.
Bumblebee out.
And I might know what I've